Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race Race and Strategy Guide. We're a little bit later again, but we'll hopefully have this out by about lunchtime, 1 o'clock on the Monday, because we didn't have the full details for the race. And when we did get the full details, we have a little bit of a curveball from PD. We're at Circuit de la Sarthe, better known as Le Mans, and we are in the Group 1 machinery, but you're not reading a typo there. We are doing 12 laps around this 3.5 minute lap track. And that's going to be a 40-minute race. That has came out of the blue. Nobody was really expecting it. We don't know if it's a mistake. We don't know if it's a test to try and see how the player base reacts to longer races. But very welcome as far as I am concerned. The rest of the settings are we've got tyre wear at ×6, fuel at ×1, soft and medium tyres. Both of them are mandatory. BOP is on, damage is light. It's a rolling start and slipstream is real. Okay, first up on the agenda is let's talk about the Group 1 car selection. Group 1 is a hot mess in Gran Turismo. Certainly in my opinion, I think in most people's opinion, I don't think anybody's very happy with having Group C cars mixed with LMP, hybrids, LMP, non-hybrids and Vision Gran Turismo cars. Now, the fastest cars in this one, or the fastest cars around a single lap, are absolutely the Group C cars. In particular, the Nissan R92, the Subaru Mercedes and the Mazda 787B. They're going to be top of the leaderboards, and having done a couple of races, I think it's definitely the car you're going to have to pick for the race as well, if you want to be competitive. I'll talk about maybe if you're looking for an alternative choice a little bit later on in the video, but for most people, you are looking at the Group C cars. On your screen, we have a Group C top end test. Obviously, Le Mans, very long straights, you're looking for a car with good top end. However, you can see the Mercedes is actually a good bit slower than the 787B and the Nissan. However, it is much better through the twisty sections. But the fastest car in a straight line, you can see the result of my test there, highly scientific, is the Nissan R92 at 225. So moving on to the race, we did the very first race in the morning, the 8 o'clock split in EMEA. So I jumped onto the PlayStation, seen it was 12 laps, it was 7:30 in the morning at the time, and thought, oh well, we're going to have to jump onto this, just in case it's a mistake and they divert back to something like 5 or 6 laps like most people were expecting. But it does look like it's in. It looks like it's going to be a 12 lap race for the week's duration. The only slight problem with it is it still starts every half hour, so there is a split in the player base, which is not ideal, it has to be said, but maybe a little bit of an oversight on PD, or as we suspect, or some of us suspect, it's been a little bit of a mistake. So we're in Nissan R92. Now, despite it being 8 o'clock in the morning, we still have some fairly big names of the Gran Turismo world in this race. We've got TCR Tidgeney down in P13, 2 behind us. We've got Ram Consta, a World Tour player for the last couple of years, and the Mercedes just in front of us. We've got Danny EU, a Malaysian driver, who I think is going to his first World Tour event in Amsterdam next month in this one as well. So lots of very fast drivers in here. Everybody was in the dark here, to be perfectly honest with you. I know people had done some testing around a kind of 5 lap and a 6 lap race, and I had done some testing myself in preparation for getting the video together. But again, nobody was expecting a 12 lap race, so nobody knew whether a 2-stopper was going to be quicker here or whether it was going to be a 1-stopper. We'll test both of them here. You'll see which one I think is quicker, but you'll see what one is actually quicker, because despite the fact it's a long race, the strategy for this one is going to be slightly one-dimensional. But this is the 2-stop strategy we are doing here. We're going to do 6 laps on the mediums, 3 laps on the softs, and then 3 laps on the softs again. A good demonstration there down the first part of the straight, just how quick this R92 is compared to some of the other Group C cars, particularly that Porsche, which definitely struggles in acceleration wise. But we're going to come down here to the second chicane. We've had a good start. I'm not entirely, I think we started in P11, we are up into P8, we completely missed the chicane there. I'm not sure whether Shelty maybe gave me a little bit of a bump there, or not Shelty, I think the Porsche maybe gave me a little bit of a bump there, because they went off the track as well. And it was a bit of a strange one when I went off the track. I remember thinking, I definitely broke in time. I don't know why we did not make that corner, but we rejoined the track nice and safely. Coming to the end of lap 6 then, this is where we're going to pit. You can see that rear left is very second hand indeed. Do be careful coming into the pits. You do drive this chicane in the car. If you just go in full speed, you'll end up in that wall. That's not going to be a good place to be. But yeah, 6 laps on the mediums. You can see they are not very happy at all. I don't think the tread would last for another lap, but we'll look and see what happens when you do try and do an additional lap in the next race. Fairly long pit loss at Le Mans as expected. Now Group 1 is shorter than Group 2, 3 and 4. It's a little known fact that the pit lane is actually shorter depending on the category. The fastest pit loss, or the shortest pit loss, is in the Group 1 cars. So even so, Le Mans is always well known for its long pit loss, and it's still 26 to 27 seconds. So if we're looking at a 2-stop versus a 1-stop, that's the amount of time you're going to have to gain on the 2-stop strategy. And we shall, as I said, we shall find out whether there is enough time to be gained in the tyres in the 2-stop strategy compared to the 1-stop strategy as we move through forward the video. And we'll get a decent answer to that right now, because the 2 cars in front of me, as we jump forward to the end of lap 12, have indeed tried the 1-stop strategy. We've got Tidgeney and we have got the Danish driver, I can't quite see his name. They've went for 5 laps on the mediums, and 7 laps on the mediums and 5 laps on the soft tyres, and we have taken until this point to actually catch back up with them. Now we were ahead of Tidgeney at the beginning of the race, but I think we were behind the Danish driver initially, and it's taken us, all the way to this point on the better tyres to catch up to these 2 drivers. And I think we're really only going to beat this Danish driver because he serves a penalty here, which allows us to make the move down into the Porsche curves. So they're on dead tyres at the moment. We caught Tidgeney by about, I think we crossed the line 4 seconds behind them at the start of lap 12. So they're on dead tyres, they've got no grip whatsoever. But are they losing enough time? If the strategies play out equal, if all things are equal, are they losing enough time with those worn tyres? It does highlight a problem at the moment with the game. I'm going to maybe do a wee video on it, because I think it's kind of ruining strategy a little bit, if you ask me. And we'll talk about it a little bit more when we move on to the next race. We come to the end of this one. We are actually going to finish in P3, because the car in P3 at the moment has actually done the entire race on the soft tyres. They're in the Hyundai VGT. It turns out that the LMP hybrids, LMP normal and the VGT cars have much better tyre wear. They can go the whole race on the soft tyres and then a single lap on the medium tyres. They're just too slow though. They're giving up 3 to 4 seconds a lap. So they just don't gain anything by only making that 1 pit stop over a Group C car doing a 2-stopper. But can you do the 1-stopper in a Group C car? Well, the answer to that is yes, you can, and it's because, as I mentioned just earlier, the game has a little bit of a fundamental problem at the moment. If you ask me, I don't think this is a good thing. We're coming to the end of lap 7 here on our mediums, and as you can see, our rear left is completely dead. Now, I'm not saying that you should be spinning all over the place if you drive on a completely dead tyre, but you should be losing more time than you are at the moment, because to me, it's a little bit silly to be driving on a tyre that the game's telling you has no tread left whatsoever. It's absolutely dead, but because the pit loss is so long, it's quicker to drive on a tyre like this for a lap, and we're going to do it again on the soft tyres as well. I think we actually maybe lost the tread halfway through lap 7, so we've done half a lap on a dead medium tyre, and it's pretty much the same story on the soft tyres. The soft tyres will do 4.5 laps before the tread disappears completely, and the medium tyres will do 6.5 laps. In my hands anyway. Could be better for some drivers, could be worse for others. So coming out the pits here, we're going to be in P6. We actually finished this one in P5 because somebody else pitted. We're going to finish this one in P6. Key going to pass us down into Indianapolis here. We fought it, we did think about fighting it, but it's a tricky corner to really be too ambitious on. Don't want to take anybody out at this stage in the race. And we're going to finish this one in P6. But again, you can look at that rear left tyre, completely dead. And we're going to drive half a lap on a completely dead tyre. Key in front of me also has a completely dead tyre as well, as do Constant at the front. We think the Mazda 787B might be slightly better on tyres compared to the Mercedes and the Nissan, but I think it's probably the slowest out of the 3 cars over a lap as well. So interesting stuff. But yeah, I do think this is a problem. I think you should be losing more time when you completely kill the tyre. We're only losing about 4 to 5 seconds a lap over a long lap like this. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of straights there, but to me it's a little bit of an issue with the game. We should not be driving on dead tyres. We should be making a pit stop. You know, there should be a bigger punishment for not taking on a fresh set of tyres. And I'll maybe do a wee video on it later on in the week or next week or something, just kind of highlighting how I think it ruins the strategy of the race. But not too shabby a result. P6, we've got Key, Constant, Calster in front of us. Mayox is a very fast driver as well. I think Tafoni is a pretty fast driver as well. We got a 4-second penalty in that one, so we may well have been able to kind of finish up in P4 without that 4-second penalty. Absolutely murdered a Porsche into the first chicane on lap 1. I apologised after the race, but you know my policy. The game gave me a 4-second penalty. It was completely accidental. They were in a Porsche 919, completely the wrong car. So yeah, we just drove off. Yeah, I don't know. Judge me if you want. But anyway, let's move on to the strategy options for this one. Despite it being a long race, despite the fact we've got 2 different types of tyre, it's actually fairly one-dimensional. The optimal strategy is you want to be in a Group C car, either the 787B, the Nissan R92CP or the Sauber Mercedes, and you want to do 7 laps on the medium tyres and 5 laps on the soft tyres. Always start on the mediums because your car will be lighter by the time you put the soft tyres on, and you'll get a little bit more longevity out of the tyres. Temperatures will play a part as well. I've done a race at 18 degrees and a race at 19 degrees, and also consider your brake balance, which is now coming as a feature for daily races just this week. About time, PD. What's that, a year and a half without brake balance after having it all that time in GT Sport, but we now have it available in the daily races as of this week, which is very, very welcome indeed. So if you're wanting to look after those rear tyres, make sure you get your brake balance all the way to the front. So -5 should save a little bit of tyres over the course of the race. It's not dramatic. I have tested this in the past. I never really did a video or anything on it, but it does have a small factor in looking after those tyres, which is all important in this race. So that is the optimal strategy. Now, if you are really bad on tyres and you can't drive the car once the tyres are completely worn, do consider that 2-stopper. This is a long race. The idea about this race is to not spin the car, keep it on the grey stuff, don't get penalties. You're not really racing that much, to be honest with you. It's all about kind of just making sure you keep it on the track and just taking advantage of other people making mistakes, getting the strategy wrong, and hopefully the results will come that way. So yeah, if you're bad on the tyres, do consider doing the 2-stop strategy. It is slower, there's no two doubts about it. It's slower, probably about 15 to 17 seconds, but it means you keep the car on the track for the entire length of the race, which if you can't do that on the worn tyres, then it's a better strategy for you. But we'll wrap the video up there. I'm not going to do a lap guide in this one. My brain's been frazzled by trying to work out the strategy and doing races this morning, try to get this video together as quickly as possible. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully it's been useful in some way, shape or form. If it has, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching now. Bye bye.